Lovely, thank you. I'm also on Staff Rooms. I'm recently starting blogging there. I know, I think Toby, give me a nod, Toby, you're going to mention that later, aren't you? Yeah. So Staff Room is a blogging site, and actually my last blog post was about Rita Pearson. So actually this evening my presentation seems to combine a lot of what has already been mentioned so far this evening. I am focusing on what makes effective revision. So Rachel earlier talking about the different revision techniques ties in quite nicely here. I can't really take any credit for any of this because it's not my idea. This has come from Sean Allison. So if any of you follow him on Twitter, brilliant, and the website Class Teaching is phenomenal. So the third post down talks about what makes effective revision. So this kind of ties in what you're talking about the strategies, but also what makes them particularly effective. It's all based on, if you just press forward to one, this one here. It's all based on this report. It's 55 pages long, so we won't go through that now. We might be here a while. But in it talks about what makes really effective strategies all the way through to the ones that are least effective. If we look at the ones that are considered, well actually if you go forward one, John. In preparation for time, I thought this would be interesting. I asked my year 11 classes, I've got 2 year 11 classes, and I said to them, word association, got the word revision, what word immediately comes into your head, write it on a post-it. So I displayed them here, so some of them come up more frequently than others. Exams, guide, boring seems to head the list. Science and maths, so students wrote down 2 subjects, science and maths are the ones that came to mind. One girl got very confused by the task and wrote the word cabbage. It's worrying, when a target grades an A and you see your residuals flash before your eyes. But yeah, these are the words that are sort of coming up. So if we look at what sorts of strategies are deemed to be not that effective, look at the next one, John. Not effective, and we use this all the time. My highlighters are always out in the classroom, so actually highlighting is deemed to be not effective, possibly for the reason that's displayed. Students do just tend to get to the end of the page and realise there's only 2 sentences that they've not actually highlighted. The summarising as well, so actually summing up text at the end isn't deemed to be particularly effective. And rereading, there's a lot of students who say, actually, I did this with my year 12s, who said, I just read the books last year and I was okay, I got through, it was all right. So my year 12s are having to now think about things in a slightly different way. Reasons why they're not particularly effective, displayed on the next one. They are low challenge. It's not that difficult to read a set of information, pick out something that might be relevant. They don't really require a massive amount of thinking. You can reread something, and yes, it might go in or it might not. It also makes the students think that they're doing something. I've been into our study rooms so often, and the year 12s are there, their books are all open, the highlighters, there's all manner of colours displayed, they've got all their notes, they've got bullet point lists, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's been effective. If we look at what makes things more effective, thank you, John, practice testing. So actually doing something with that revision that means that you're not just rereading it. So it ties into what Bill was saying earlier with flashcards, with them actually being a question that is followed by an answer. So in this instance, flashcards with questions on one side, answers on the other, or done through the site that you displayed earlier with exam time. Working through past exam questions, they were the ones that are topping the list as good and effective strategies. Simply quizzing each other and key bits of information, creating gap fill exercises for each other, for themselves, that they can revisit at different times, and multiple choice quizzes as well. We're all coming out as things that were the most effective strategies. So anything that is practice testing that doesn't resort to rereading. Just examples from GCSE geography, so if any geographers out there and you do want them, I've got sets of flashcards on climatic hazards, tectonic hazards, economic activity, absolutely everything under the sun. But they are available for students and do allow for that practice testing that they can do. The other thing that is picked out, and there are more that are on the blog post, but I've just chosen a few just for this evening, distributed practice. And we say this so often. I heard our head of sixth form saying this to our sixth form students in assembly, that they have to start thinking about their exams now, that they are just round the corner, they need to be spreading it out over time. But at no point do we really stress the why, as in exactly why do you have to do that? Some of them just don't think that it's that imminent. But the why is because the students need some forgetting time. They need to revisit and revise something and have that period of time that allows them to forget it, so they can revisit it and see what remains and what's gone. So exactly as you were saying, Rachel, earlier, with covering something, mind map, can you reproduce it? If you can't, what's missing, what's gone? And the next one, The graph, I got quite animated about it, because I quite like this. But the idea that at the point of learning something, at day 0, you've retained pretty much 100% of that information when you first learned it. As you go beyond that point, so you're a day later, you've lost a percentage of that understanding, so some of that's gone. So as part of your revision, you're essentially topping up that bit of revision, that bit of knowledge that you've done. And like I said to my Year 12 students this afternoon, if you're cramming before your exam, it's the best way to phrase it to me, if they are cramming before, and the first time in which they put their memory and what they've forgotten to the test is when they sit that paper, that's dangerous territory. So they need to work out exactly what it is they're retaining and what's losing, so keep revisiting things over a period of time. Next one. Elaborate interrogation, it makes sense, I'm not going to elaborate on it as much as I possibly should. But the idea that in learning something, they have to constantly consider the why. Some of them will get into a point of mind mapping and it'll be a mass of facts, when ultimately facts in all of our exam papers are going to be the very initial questions or aren't going to get them much further beyond that. So it's the questioning, it's the why a point might be relevant. I'm a geographer, so the second one down. The leisure industry in British seaside towns has deteriorated over the last 4 decades, but actually why is that important? Ultimately that's what the question is going to ask. It's not going to ask them the point, it's going to ask them to explain it. So I very simply use these, just an A4, I've got absolutely tons of them and they come to collect them, but they might put the topic they're revising, 4 key things they know about it, but 4 reasons then as to why those key points are significant. And that's it. So what makes effective revision? Please do do follow Sean Allison. But he is brilliant and his blog post goes into a lot more detail. But staff room, do look at that. Toby will mention it later, and I'm jopayne on Twitter. Thank you.